I wanted first of all just to thank you for coming, because this is the first time nationally, let alone locally here in Warwick, something like this has happened. But I want to thank Yvette, because without Yvette, none of this would have happened. Obviously, we've been thankful for the funding, and the foundation representatives are right here in the front row and going to say something, and we're very, very grateful. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to materialize the thoughts that we'd had. So a big thanks, primarily Yvette, for keeping it together and keeping it on the road, and to the foundation. Thank you very much. Now, yeah, she's very modest, but it is true. I mean, I have got a day job, I think, so it's a bit difficult for me to have done it. But that's just the beginning. And really, the point of you being here, you don't really need to be told, because the motivation for today is how we started. It was just under 10 years ago, a decade ago, effectively, that Anna, my daughter, one of my daughters, and her brother, Jonathan, is here somewhere as well, sitting in the front row over there. Jonathan's here, that I had a telephone call. I was in the middle of a case, as usual, but it was rather early in the morning, like 6:15. I wasn't expecting any calls at that hour. I thought, what have I done wrong? Something I've forgotten, it's about, but it wasn't about me. It was a disembodied voice on the telephone. And the voice just said, "Do you know about Anna?" Which I found a bit odd. I thought I recognized the voice, but I wasn't sure. She didn't say who she was. Maybe she didn't feel she had to. And I said, "No, I haven't heard about Anna. What is it?" And she said, "She's dead." Put the phone down. And you can imagine in, a flash of a moment, the world has changed. Instead of thinking about where I'm going to go, I'm thinking that day to do the work and all the rest. You can't quite believe it's happened. You think maybe it hasn't happened, and I've dreamt it's all part, I've only just got up. How can this... We were due to meet, Yvette and I were due to meet her the following day. It was a Friday. We were going to see her on the Saturday. We knew there were problems, and that people have problems of stress, and we thought talking it through would help, but none of us, nobody, even the family who can't be here today, and they send their apologies, the other half of the family, Anna's family, are back down in London, and they're having a gathering of their own, but I think some of them would like to have been here as well. Because, in a way, I live with her and think about her more now than I did when she was alive, and I find that difficult to live with, because when they're alive, maybe you take them for granted. Maybe you think, well, you'll see them the week after if it's not this week or whatever, and then you suddenly realize it isn't there anymore. And so in this sort of almost a whirlwind, a tornado has hit me on the phone. Luckily Yvette was there, and another friend was there. But I just remember physically, emotionally, and I say all this because I want you, each of you here for the same reason, to recognize that this is the kernel. This is the generation of what's happening here, was happening after that phone call. And of course I couldn't come to terms with it. I couldn't go to work, I couldn't do anything. You are left, suddenly everything's dropped off. You have no support at all, nothing. You have support from other people, but not the support of the daughter that you once had. It's just, and you can't imagine never being able to speak to them again. And there are all those things that you wish you had have said. And I got angry. You start punching the wall, the furniture, and you start swearing, and you are then beginning to recriminate against yourself. And then you say, "Wait a minute, Anna, why did you do it? I was coming to see you." All those things that you go through, the kaleidoscope of emotions that drive you pretty close to the brink yourself. But I went, as did Jonathan, to the funeral. And after the funeral, we got to a poignant moment when it was necessary to speak to everybody who'd come. And a lot of people had come, like today, a lot of people had come to the funeral. I didn't know them, but two things happened. One, I was asked this question today, we've done some interviews about all of this, was in the service itself, the coffin was there, and she was in it. And I found myself talking to the coffin. And I said, a bit surrealistic really, Anna, if you could lift up the lid of the coffin now and look out at the sea of faces of people who cared for you. She was a very caring person herself, who cared for you in the past, but perhaps you didn't realize how much support there was, who care for you now and will go on caring, and your memory will live on, which it has in this. And the second thing that happened on the same day, I gave a little speech to the group of everybody that was there back at the school where her sons go, and I made the speech and I used the word suicide. This is important because there is a kind of feeling that you mustn't say that. It's the elephant in the room. You can talk about it, but we go around, trip round the tulips, don't actually say it. Why? Because it was an offence, committing suicide. Still is an offence if you help someone else to commit suicide. So the criminality has lingered. It's all like a substratum from the days when families were banned from living in the precincts and they couldn't bury their dead, the person who's committed suicide, in sacrosanct ground, in unmarked graves and so on. It was that bad. That's why it's lingered. And having used the word in the speech, without really thinking about it, people came up and said, can you do more of it? And then they realized the person they're sitting next to has been affected by suicide, either a relative or a neighbor or a friend. There were 30 or 40 people there who did not realize the extent to which suicide had affected their lives, and they wouldn't talk about it. And they said, if you talk about it, you open the door to us so we can talk about it. That's what we started doing in SOS, Silence of Suicide, another of the ideas that Yvette had for it. And that's what we started doing, going round, and somebody here from a well-known retail chain, which I suspect he would not like me to mention overtly, but a very successful one. We went and did some work with them, prison service, universities, all over the country, and eventually a branch in New Zealand. Same object, get people together so that the isolation ebbs away. Get people to talk so the burden is lifted. And the thing we got offered so many times after these gatherings was people just come and say thank you. And you say, well, we're only facilitating you, not us. You're doing it. They said, we feel liberated. It was that bad, the sort of lodestone over everybody's head on this issue. And of course, since then, it's got worse. For most people, suicide rates have gone up, shot up. Because every single person sitting here has got a memory of the person, that's why they're here, but also we're all under stress every single day. Economic stress, war zones globally. You can't wake up without realizing there are trials and tribulations for everybody, including ourselves. So the idea is to lift that and get people to talk about it. So you preempt. I was asked on one interview just a minute ago, about mental services. Yeah, sure, mental services have been underfunded, but the object we have is to get out there before you need the services to ease that stress. I've taken a bit of time because I think it's important to explain why we've been doing all this. And sitting behind here are two vans. Do have a look inside because they've been very carefully renovated. Well, they're not renovated, they were new in the first place, but they've been refurbished. Sorry, they're not vans used for another purpose. But what we've done on these vans, with the help of the husband of one of our trustees, is that the word is there. We're not afraid to say the word, put it out there, and it's already just going round with these vans. People come up, they want to know more, they want to know more. The idea fundamentally is to take the gathering to the people who are immobile, vulnerable, haven't got the energy perhaps, and even maybe don't want to be talking about it with other people, you can have single or one or two people in each one, or you can have a gathering in these. And this is not the official launch, but nevertheless, after this, these vans, we hope to have a network of these vans throughout the country. They'll be identified and identifiable, like the days when we used to have mobile libraries, grocery shops, all those mobile things that have gone. And it's bringing back the feeling and spirit of the community. So that's just a very short history of my own involvement in this and real commitment to this, and also the function of SOS, because we've broadened out from the gathering to the mobile, and of course we run something which I'll just touch on briefly, and that's a telephone service, a bit like the Samaritans, but not the same. The idea, it's a helpline, and it's run by volunteers, and again, thanks to the funding, that's expanded massively, and Yvette may want to say something. Thank you for listening. I pass to Yvette on this. No, you don't need to applaud. It's not the right thing. It's very kind of you.
I think when anybody speaks powerfully, that deserves acknowledgement, and we all know how difficult it can be to speak at all when we've suffered huge loss, devastating loss. So I think, thank you, Michael, for opening the conversation tonight, because it is a brave thing to do, and we all know it's not an easy thing to do. And even if we want to talk, we're scared sometimes that people aren't going to listen. We're scared about how they may react to what we say. And then we're scared about how do we handle their reactions. So well done. I think you've captivated everybody. I'm going to run through a little bit about what's going to happen tonight. This night was put together for you, for everyone, for all of us here tonight, because we have the same thing in common. Sadly, but we do. And through that loss, we're here tonight and we're together, and we're here for each other, and we can take great comfort from just being able to look into somebody else's eyes and knowing that you know how I feel and I know how you feel. And the comfort from that can be absolutely amazing, and that's what I want for all of you tonight. I want tonight to be beautiful in that sense for all of you. We've got some pop-up pods you'll see dotted around. If anybody needs any personal, emotional support tonight, I'm going to point out in a moment the people that can help you, okay? Please don't be too worried about asking. The guys will also be keeping an eye out, see if anybody does appear that they need any help. All right, so please take advantage of that. That's what it's here for. We've also got first aiders, and we've got general helpers. So we've got lots of people here that can help in any situation. All right, so please reach out if you need to. After I finished, you're going to hear from our main funder, Peter Goddard. And we're delighted to welcome Peter and his wife Abby here tonight. Absolutely thrilled, because without these people, we would not be sitting here doing this. And what a shame that would be. Also, Lady Colin Campbell, who's one of our ambassadors and has suffered loss to suicide herself, knows what bereavement feels like, knows what that loss feels like, and we're absolutely delighted that she's travelled so very far to come here tonight and say a few words to you all about the importance of remembrance. So thank you all very much.